Have you ever wondered why some people seem to go through unimaginable hardships, while others seem to glide through life untouched? Maybe you've asked yourself, why me? In the silence of a long and lonely night. Maybe you felt cursed, abandoned, or even punished when, in truth, you were being chosen. Yes, chosen. Not for suffering, but for awakening. Not for punishment, but for transformation. And this is where our story begins. There's a sacred truth that very few people understand. The universe never wastes pain. It never throws suffering at you without reason. What feels like a collapse is often the beginning of construction. What seems like darkness is often the first step into divine light. And the misfortunes you've endured, those moments of despair, betrayal, loss, and confusion, may very well be the sacred trials designed to forge you into something extraordinary. Let me ask you a question that only the brave can answer honestly. What if the worst things that ever happened to you were actually the best things in disguise? What if your pain wasn't a problem, but a plan? The first misfortune is isolation. Almost every chosen one experiences a period of intense solitude. It can feel like abandonment, like being cut off from everyone, friends, family, even God. But isolation is not rejection. It is redirection. When we are alone, we are forced to face ourselves. There are no distractions, no masks, no noise, just you and the raw, unfiltered version of your inner world. This isolation, painful as it is a spiritual cocoon. It's where the caterpillar dies so the butterfly can be born. And in that silence, when you think no one sees you, the universe is whispering secrets that only the chosen are meant to hear. But most people run from that silence. They numb it with distractions, noise, addictions, or endless scrolling. They see solitude as suffering. But the chosen ones, they lean into it. They listen. And through that listening, they begin to awaken. The second misfortune is rejection. You've been told no 1,000 times. Doors slammed shut. People walked away. Opportunities vanished. It stings. But rejection is not the universe saying you're not good enough. It's the universe saying, you're too good for this small space. I'm redirecting you to where your soul is meant to bloom. Chosen ones are not meant to fit in. They are meant to stand out. But before they can, they must first be pushed out of comfort, of approval, of the crowd. I remember a time when I felt completely rejected by the world. Nothing I did seemed to work. I felt invisible. But now, looking back, I see it clearly. I was being hidden, not rejected. I was being carved, not crushed. And when the time was right, what once felt like rejection became the fuel for my rise. Can you see it in your own life? The job you didn't get, the person who walked away, the path that closed. What if that was divine protection? What if it was the universe keeping you from a lesser destiny? The third misfortune is failure. Oh, how painful it is to fail, especially when you tried with everything in you, especially when you believed. But failure is one of the most sacred teachers. It humbles the ego and sharpens the soul. It teaches us what no success ever could. There's a hidden law in this universe. The higher the calling, the deeper the fall before the rise. Failure breaks us open in ways that success never could. It shows us the cracks in our foundation. It reveals where we need to grow. And most importantly, it teaches us resilience, not the kind of resilience that just pushes through, but the kind that transforms through. Ask yourself, what did my failures teach me that success never could? If you look deeply, you'll find wisdom there. You'll find strength. You'll find a version of yourself who would never have been born without that fall. And here's the thing, chosen ones often fail publicly. Their mistakes are visible, humiliating, even mocked. But what the world sees as a breakdown is often just a burning away of the false self. It's the fire that reveals the gold underneath. The fourth misfortune is betrayal. There is no pain quite like being betrayed by someone you trusted. It cuts deep. It makes you question your worth, your judgment, even your sanity. But betrayal, as devastating as it is, is one of the universe's most powerful tools to reveal truth. It removes the masks of those who are never truly aligned with your path. It forces you to detach from codependency and step into your own sovereignty. Betrayal teaches you to stop outsourcing your power. It teaches you to listen to your intuition, to trust your inner knowing more than someone else's words. Through betrayal, the chosen ones learn discernment. They become warriors not of bitterness, but of wisdom. Some of the most powerful awakenings happen right after betrayal, because it shatters illusions. And once the illusions are gone, what remains is truth. Raw, painful, liberating truth. So I ask you, who betrayed you that actually set you free? What doors closed that were never meant to stay open? What pain are you still holding on to that was actually your liberation in disguise? The fifth misfortune is poverty, or the experience of lack. This one is brutal. It's humiliating. To not have enough to feel like you're always scraping, always struggling can wear down your soul. But lack is not always a curse. For the chosen ones, it's often a test, a sacred initiation. When you have nothing, you discover what you really are. You tap into creativity, resourcefulness, and intuition on a level that abundance never requires. You begin to understand the value of things, not in dollars, but in energy. And you start to see the invisible structures that money often hides: power, control, dependence.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
Many spiritual masters were born in lack, not because they were cursed, but because they were being trained. Poverty taught them how to see beyond the material, how to trust the unseen, how to create from nothing. And in that, they became unstoppable. What would you learn about yourself if everything external was stripped away? That's the question lack demands you answer. And for those who dare to answer it, abundance becomes inevitable, not just financial abundance, but spiritual, emotional, and energetic wealth. The sixth misfortune is illness or physical suffering. This is one of the hardest to accept, because pain in the body feels like a betrayal from life itself. But even here, there is a hidden gift. Illness slows you down. It forces you to become present, to listen to your body, to reevaluate everything. It strips away the distractions and demands that you go inward. Some of the most profound awakenings happen in hospital beds, in moments of pain, in the stillness that illness brings. Because when your body is weakened, your spirit often becomes louder. You begin to hear the voice of your soul more clearly. You start to ask deeper questions, and sometimes you find that the illness was the very thing that brought you back to yourself. I know this is hard to hear, but what if your pain is not punishment? What if it's a message? What if your body is not your enemy, but your messenger? The seventh misfortune is spiritual emptiness, the dark night of the soul. It's that moment when all your beliefs collapse, when your prayers feel unanswered, when you can't feel God or love or meaning. It's terrifying, but it's also necessary, because the dark night is not the end, it's the beginning of real enlightenment. It's the death of false beliefs, borrowed identities, and second-hand truths. It's the sacred void before rebirth, and only those who walk through it can truly awaken. So if you're in the dark night, I want you to know you're not lost. You're being emptied so you can be filled with truth. You're not broken. You're being initiated. Each of these misfortunes, solitude, rejection, failure, betrayal, lack, illness, and spiritual darkness, are not punishments. They are the sacred curriculum of the chosen ones. They are the hidden gifts, the invisible blessings, the divine initiations. But only if you choose to see them that way. There is a secret the world doesn't want you to know. It hides behind motivational slogans and picture-perfect lives on social media. It hides behind the illusion that happiness is the goal and that success means you're doing life right. But the chosen ones know better. Deep down, we feel it in our bones. Suffering is not a mistake, it is a message. It is a sacred code, encrypted in the DNA of our soul's evolution. And the reason chosen ones are marked by pain is because pain is the only force powerful enough to unlock the ancient wisdom buried within us. Have you noticed how the ones who carry the most light often have the darkest pasts? Why is it that the most compassionate people are usually the ones who have suffered the most? It's because pain refines the soul. It strips away the ego. It removes the illusion that we are separate, better, or above others. Pain is the great equalizer. It brings even the proudest to their knees. But in that surrender, something extraordinary happens. A new self begins to rise. Not the self that society built, but the self that the universe designed. You may not know this, but the greatest spiritual traditions all speak of this. The Buddha was born into luxury, but didn't awaken until he saw sickness, old age, and death. Jesus was not crowned in gold, he was crowned in thorns. Every prophet, every mystic, every enlightened being walked through fire. Why? Because suffering breaks the shell of personality and reveals the soul underneath. It is the divine hammer that shatters the false self. But here's the part that most people miss. Suffering doesn't make you chosen. You are already chosen. The suffering simply activates the mission. It calls you out of the slumber of ordinary life. It whispers to your spirit, wake up, there's something more. That heartbreak, that betrayal, that breakdown, it wasn't random. It was the universe knocking on the door of your soul. We are not here to live easy lives. We are here to live meaningful ones. And meaning often comes not from what we gain, but what we survive, what we understand, what we transform. The sacred code of pain is written in the language of transformation. It says, this will hurt, but it will also heal. This will break you, but only the parts that were never truly you. So I ask you now, what if your suffering wasn't a sign that something is wrong with you, but that something is deeply right? What if it's proof that you are being called to a deeper purpose, a higher vibration, a more awakened life? You see, the chosen ones are not chosen because they are better, they are chosen because they are willing. Willing to feel, willing to break, willing to let go, willing to face themselves in the mirror of pain and not run away. That courage, that sacred willingness is what sets them apart. We must stop asking, why is this happening to me? And begin asking, what is this awakening in me? Because every pain has a message. Every misfortune holds a mirror. And when you stop resisting and start listening, you'll realize that the universe has been speaking to you all along through every wound, through every loss, through every tear. So when you feel like giving up, when the pain becomes unbearable, remember this, you are being initiated, not punished. Initiated into a tribe that walks through fire, not to suffer, but to shine. And your scars? They aren't shameful. They are sacred symbols. They are the proof that you have walked through the valley and still chose to love, still chose to rise, still chose to believe. There's a moment in every chosen one's journey when everything seems to fall apart. The relationships unravel, the career collapses, the identity you once clung to crumbles like sand between your fingers. It feels like punishment, like the very fabric of your life is being torn apart. But, in truth, this is not destruction, it's divine reconstruction. Chaos is not the end. It is the blueprint for what comes next. You see, the universe never tears down what is real. It only dismantles what no longer serves your highest path. That breakdown you feared, it was actually a sacred clearing. The pain that shattered you. It was the hammer of destiny, sculpting the masterpiece you were always meant to become. The chosen ones are not built in comfort, they are forged in chaos. And that chaos is not random. It is intelligent. It is precise. It is the architecture of your spiritual rebirth. But here's the catch. Most people resist it. They cling to the illusion, to the version of themselves they've outgrown. They fight to hold on to what's falling apart, not realizing that sometimes the very thing we're trying to save is the thing that's keeping us small. When the universe brings chaos into your life, it's not to destroy you, it's to strip away everything that is not truly you. And what's left after the fire? Truth, essence, power. Have you ever had something collapse in your life and years later realized it was the best thing that could have happened? That breakup that nearly broke you, led you back to yourself. That job you lost opened the door to your purpose. that identity crisis, forced you to discover who you are beyond the labels. The divine architecture of chaos is always working behind the scenes to realign you with your soul's blueprint, but it rarely feels like a blessing when you're in the middle of it. Chaos is sacred because it creates space. Space for clarity, space for new energy, space for alignment. Most people fill their lives with noise just to avoid that space. But the chosen ones, we learn to sit in it. We learn to breathe in the void, to trust that what feels like emptiness is actually the womb of rebirth. Let me tell you a secret. Nothing real can be destroyed. Your essence, your truth, your divine calling, it cannot be lost. It can only be revealed, and chaos reveals it by removing everything that covers it. You were never meant to be the person you were pretending to be. You were meant to be raw, real, undefended, and whole. So when your life begins to unravel, don't panic. Pause. Breathe. Ask yourself the deeper question. What is the universe trying to build through this collapse? What am I being freed from? Because sometimes the collapse is not the curse, it's the cure. It's the medicine that tastes bitter but heals the deepest wounds. The chosen ones are constantly being reborn. That's why our lives often look unstable to the outside world. People don't understand the sacred rhythm we're walking. They see the chaos, but they don't see the code behind it. They see the loss, but they don't see the liberation. And that's okay, because this path isn't meant to be understood by everyone. It's meant to be lived, felt, embodied. And here's the final truth. The universe will never let you settle at a lower frequency than your soul was born for. That's why it will keep shaking the ground beneath you until you rise, until you remember, until you rebuild, not from ego, but from essence, not from fear, but from truth. So I ask you now, what in your life is falling apart that might actually be falling into place? What if the chaos is not the storm that ends your journey, but the wind that finally sets your spirit free? There comes a point after the isolation, the rejection, the betrayal, the collapse when something truly miraculous happens. You stop running from your wounds. You stop hiding them, shaming them, numbing them. You turn around, look them in the face, and for the first time you see them not as burdens, but as blessings. Not as scars, but as signatures of your soul's divine journey. This is the final revelation. Your wounds are not your weakness, they are your superpowers. The world trains us to believe we must be flawless to be worthy, that we must hide our pain to be accepted. That strength means never bleeding, never crying, never breaking. But that's a lie. Real strength is not in perfection, it is in presence. It is in showing up with your wounds open and saying, "This is me. This is what I've survived. And this is how I've turned pain into purpose." Every wound you carry holds a frequency, and that frequency becomes your medicine if you allow it. The heartbreak you endured, it gave you empathy. Now your heart recognizes pain in others without them saying a word. The betrayal, it taught you discernment. You don't just hear words, you feel energy. The abandonment, it forced you to find home within yourself. Now you walk into any room already whole. These are not weaknesses. These are divine technologies, encoded in you through suffering, awakened by survival. The chosen ones are healers, but not because they read books or attended seminars. They are healers because they have bled, they have suffered, and in the furnace of their own pain, they discovered the keys to transformation. That is why people are drawn to them, not because they are perfect, but because they are real, raw, honest, awake. Have you ever wondered why people come to you with their pain, even when you haven't told them yours? It's because your energy carries the vibration of someone who knows. Someone who has walked through the fire and didn't run from it. That's what makes you magnetic. Not your success, not your image, but your scars, your truth, your survival. And here lies the paradox. The very thing you thought disqualified you is the thing that actually qualifies you. The trauma, the loss, the breakdown. These are not stains on your destiny, they are your destiny. They are the initiations that turned you into the person who can now guide others through the same darkness. The wound is where the light entered you, and now that light shines from you. But you must stop hiding it. You must stop believing the world's lie that says only the polished are powerful. No. The most powerful people are the ones who walk into the room with their soul exposed, their pain transformed, and their truth intact. They don't speak from theory, they speak from experience. They don't preach, they embody. And that embodiment is what awakens others. So I ask you now, what if your story, the one you thought was too messy, too painful, too broken, is the very story that someone else needs to hear to find their own healing? What if your vulnerability is the medicine this world is starving for? The final revelation is this: your wounds were never meant to destroy you. They were meant to anoint you, to activate your gift, your calling, your sacred mission. You are not here to pretend you've never suffered. You are here to alchemize that suffering into wisdom, into love, into power. This is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of your true legacy. The chosen ones rise not because they are unbroken, but because they are reborn. Again and again. Each time stronger. Each time deeper. Each time more aligned with the divine truth they were sent here to embody. So don't cover your wounds. Illuminate them. Let them speak. Let them guide. Let them transform the room just by your presence. Because your pain was never random. It was coded with purpose. And now the world is ready for your light. You are not broken. You were chosen. And now it's your time to rise.